Hey guys, this is Marko from Noreen Seabrook, Handmade Rugs, and welcome to These Pieces. About 2017 actually was when I first wanted to recreate different types of rugs and not just have your traditional, pattern. I started surrounding myself with different artists, creatives, and actually I was invited to an A$AP Rocky album release party kind of thing over at Sotheby's, where I first met Chi Modu. I had no idea who Chi was. Chi didn't really know much about me, but I think that worked in my favor. Not knowing and just vibing with the person. Throughout his career, he'd taken iconic images, photos of Tupac, Biggie, you name it. So he and I were talking about that time in his life, and he kind of just hinted at the idea of recreating one of his images as a rug. So this is something that we had never done before. No one had ever done before in terms of a hand-knotted kind of carpet. And we recreated this image here. So it's all hand-knotted. We used wool and silk. I went to Nepal, where really none of the Tibetans knew who Tupac was. They found out who he was after the 7 months it took to make the rug. The gradient, the different shades, this is all really intricate weaving. And to make something that looks this realistic, all strictly with hand, no rug gun or anything like that, is really a testament to, the craft and the skill set that these weavers have, and their patience for putting up with me and my crazy ideas to want to make rugs like this one. So we made it once in gray with the gray scale, just like the image, and then I wanted to kind of recreate it again using this like iridescent colorway, just to kind of give it a little different look. Got this Apocalypse Now piece. In 2018, I had the opportunity to work with Mr. Coppola, who directed Apocalypse Now and The Godfather. So we made about 4 or 5 massive rugs for Mr. Coppola for his private residence and for his winery in Napa. If I don't get any commissions, sometimes I'll go to Nepal and I'll just say, yo, let's try this out. So that's what we did with this, thinking about, I'd watched Apocalypse Now recently. I was like, man, this is a wild, movie poster. I think it'd be kind of cool to try to make this as a rug. So what we did was map out the artwork, kind of choose the materials and the fibers. We used sunpat, which is this nettle-like plant that's indigenous to the Himalayas. And I showed this to Mr. Coppola, emailed it to him, and he was like, oh, that's beautiful, who's it for? And I said, well, your name's on it. But he never replied to that, so still got it if you want it. Moving over. I'm a big basketball fan. That's what I wanted to do my whole life, but no excuses, I just didn't do it, all right? I can't lie. So next best thing for me is I wanted to be a journalist, a sports journalist. And then in 2010, I realized that wasn't gonna happen, so I started working for my father. His name's Michael. He's the one that started this whole company, named after my grandmother, Noreen Seabrook. So growing up in the 90s, like everyone else, I was a huge Jordan fan. And this is a scene that has very vivid memory for me. It's Father's Day, '96. The first time Jordan won a championship after his father passed away. And so for me to take over my father's company, not to get sappy, but I felt like everything I was doing was for my father. And I realized that, the pieces that I make are the pieces that I do the best with. They have some sort of connection with me personally. So it's a win-win for me because it's something that I wanted to make. And if someone ends up taking it or someone else likes it, that's great. So it's actually 2 different rugs. This piece right here is the actual design in the locker room from '96, when right after he won, he took the ball, went to the locker room. And then this piece here is actually Jordan. So I got this here, and when it's just me by myself and Mike, sometimes, no one else is around, I'll finish up work, I'll ask him how he's doing, he's still crying, so I gotta just console him, make sure he's doing all right. Seems like he's cool, but that's the story of why I got this Jordan rug here. It's a little different. I've got these Tibetan Sky Burial pieces. These are much more traditional Tibetan pieces. You know, sky burial is something that takes place in Tibet after the passing of someone. Traditionally, what will happen is their body will be put up on a hill and they'll allow vultures to pick at the body, and it's like the last offering to give to the world before you are gone. So anyway, I just, after doing Jordan, Apocalypse Now, Tupac, etc., I really think it's important for me to showcase Tibetan culture, Tibetan craft, Tibetan artwork. I think it's a responsibility on my part, so these are beautiful pieces, and yeah. So in 2020, right around the time COVID hit, I found myself with a lot of time to work on projects I'd always kind of wanted to work on, but didn't have the time to work on them. So I tapped into a memory I had from when I was about 15 years old. First watching Belly, the scene where Nas is walking through the club, the flashing lights, the colors, all the visuals, the music. It was a very impactful memory. And I thought, man, that'd be really cool to recreate that, but as a rug. See, when you make rugs all the time, everything I see is that could be a rug, that could be a rug. And so I took a still shot of the Belly intro scene where Nas is walking into the nightclub, and I basically tried to recreate the artwork. My eyes were burning, trying to match the colors, trying to match wools and silks to different blues, blacks, pinks, reds, all that are in that scene. And as I'm working on this, it's about a 7-month process, a friend of mine who knows Hype sent Hype a picture, Hype Williams being the guy who famously directed the movie, and his reaction was like, oh damn, this is crazy. When I saw that he knew about the rug, then I knew I really had to go in on it. It took about 7 months to recreate this artwork just alone, and then 7 months for the weaving to be done by hand in Nepal. We used wool, silk, and in really bright lighting or natural daylight, these colors are much more fluorescent, they'll pop. We made 2 pieces. We sent one out to Hype Williams, we sent one to Nas. This is the other piece that I have here in the showroom, just kind of like an archive piece. It's a good memory. It's crazy to think through rugs I've been able to interact and work with a lot of people that I've looked up to my whole life for their artistic career, the work that they've done, and to be able to connect with them on some level, through rugs is crazy. But if you could do it with rugs, you could do it with anything. So yeah, that's this piece here. And the last rug we got to show here is this piece that's coming out for 2024. A little sneak peek, Year of the Dragon. So obviously we had to make a Tibetan dragon piece, but you'll be seeing that in January. And that's it, guys. Remember, as always, rug life or no life. Thank you for being here for these pieces, but you gotta go. On your way out, pick up a rug. I got a lot of them. I don't need them all. Thank you. Goodbye.